Full disclosure, I scripted and recorded this talk prior to doing yesterday's Payback Seed redo short, the one where I literally got e to the 16. If you missed it, it looks like this. Yeah, that happened not even 24 hours after I finished making this video. YouTube chronology is weird like that, so as you listen to the upcoming video, please take everything with a grain of salt. I do talk in this video about needing an all polychrome deck, not realizing I had the means available to me in order to do just that. My point still stands, so without further ado, let's get into it. There is something to be said about the fact that I have lost far more time than I would care to admit playing Balatro when I should have been working on other videos. And with that being said, using specific runs as an excuse to make more videos about Balatro is, well, an excuse in itself. Like many people, I feel this is one of the best gambling games ever developed, and it would put most casinos out of business if you could go to a real-life Balatro parlor. And the fact that it is going to get more updates is a sign that people will be playing this game for the next decade or longer. I love that personally. Yet, at the same time, I can't help but feel that there is one major problem with Balatro on the whole, and it's not the fault of any particular person, certainly not the fault of the developer, nothing like that. The fault lies within the nature of mathematics, you know, that immutable law of the universe, and I wanted to use this time specifically to talk about what I mean. Obviously, every table game is going to have its own meta, and a game like Balatro is going to be no exception. If you watch some of the best players in the world, they are always going for specific meta strategies. Red Steel Kings, Photo Chad, The Idol, Lucky Cat, just to name a few. And so, out of a 52-card deck, you will see every good player isolate and duplicate specific cards from the very start of their run. And almost always it will be face cards as the priority. This is not a coincidence, because in any 52-card deck, you will have 4 copies of each number card, 4 ace cards, and 12 face cards. Kings, queens, and jacks are all worth the same number of points, 10, and all of them are interchangeable on any joker that says applies to face cards. Therefore, you can use Hangman and Death to remove all of your numbered cards, and from there, Strength turns jacks into queens, and queens into kings. And the reason it works so well is, say you've tweaked your deck to have 6 kings, 8 queens, 7 jacks, and there's only the original copies of 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 left in your deck. Put together, that is 20 numbered cards, but it's 21 face cards. You already have more than a 1 in 2 chance of getting the hand you need anytime you start a new round. Who wouldn't want odds like that? But I didn't want to learn to play that way, if I'm being honest. So after playing multiple deck types and learning the ropes, I settled on Abandoned deck because this is the only deck in the game, with the exception of Erratic, where face cards are removed. Erratic usually just replaces them with other numbered cards to keep the total at 52, while Abandoned straight up removes them and starts you with 40 cards. And that results in a much, much different style of play. You'll notice it is way easier to card count on Abandoned than any other deck. You can chain 4-of-a-kinds early on, and if you don't get a 4-of-a-kind after all your discards, you can always engineer a high-value full house instead. So that is how every Abandoned run starts, finishing a round on the first hand for maximum econ farming. And then from there, you have options. Staying on theme, your best options for a run will be 4-of-a-kind, 5-of-a-kind, flush 5s, or flush houses. And while straights and straight flushes give much better returns if started early, it results in a lot more throwaway hands unless you can manage to get shortcut and or 4 fingers. The fact that I was able to on the rival seed is just god tier luck. Because again, there are an infinite number of seeds, and you may just not get what you need on the seed that you're doing. Which brings me to the much larger point. Just how high can the score go on Abandoned when you don't have face cards at your disposal? At the expense of being just a little conceited, I feel like my cutest novelist run was as high as the score counter can go organically. It got all the way to 8 billion, admittedly with some queens I picked up from the shop, but without face cards as the primary, there simply are not a lot of Joker synergies that would get you to a score of E, which is 10 to the 10, or 10 trillion points. Like, let's make an absurd example of this. Brainstorm on Hack, Blueprint on Bloodstone, Oops Joker, and Idol. 8-card run of 5 glass red seal polychrome 5s and 3 steel red seal polychrome 5s. That will get you E to the 21, but you would need the luckiest seed in the world to pull that off. We're talking multiple Aura, multiple Deja Vu, or getting the right cards in standard packs, then Death and Hangman on everything else in your deck. You are guaranteed to lose glass 5s, so throw in a few cryptid here and there. I would pay good money to see that shit, but it wouldn't last long before all the glass cards were gone and you were left with nothing. If there is one claim to fame I can say I have, it's that I have pretty much mastered the abandoned deck when most players, even top players, won't ever touch it. And that brings me back to one more aspect of this problem with Balatro that we do need to address. For most decks, including abandoned, hand scoring is your chip count multiplied by your mult count. The exception, and the deck that most top players use, is the Plasma deck. This deck is only unlocked after you have beaten Blue Stake, and it basically works as follows. Take the chip count, add it to the mult count, divide that by 2, and then square it. If you happen to know anything about how perfect squares work, you know exactly where this is going. Plasma deck is the only deck in the game that allows you the privilege of breaking the score counter, getting infinity points, and resulting in a value of Nan, which is E to the 308. So allow me to recreate the final hand of my rival's run and show you what would have happened if I had played it on Plasma deck. When I played the hand originally, my final score was 79 million. If I had swapped Blueprint to Obelisk, I could have hit 106 million. But let's say I was playing that same hand on Plasma deck. Suddenly, I am over 8.5 billion, even beating my best hand from my cutest novelist run. So, what happens when I put my best hand from the cutest novelist run into the Plasma machine? You immediately go all the way up to E to the 14. That is literally 5 more zeros, a value of 400 trillion. Like, how do you counter that on any other deck? There is simply no hand that you can make that has a chip value of 20 million. You could probably do a chip value of 20,000 using Bull. It would require $10,000, but then your mult needs to be 20 billion. Like, with Mime, 5 billion mult could get you there, but just barely. All in all, it leads to me having completely exhausted what the abandoned deck is capable of. If I do want to keep playing this game, I would ultimately need to learn Plasma, which means going back to 52 card decks, faces added in, and strategies thereof. But I'll never be as good as some of the best players out there in the world are. The best I could really do is watch their runs, copy the seed data, and deconstruct each run to further optimize them. But I doubt there would be much enthusiasm in doing that. So yeah, maybe this is it. Maybe this is where I put Balatro to the side and finally get my ass back to work on all of the other videos I said I would finish by the end of this year. Gee, what a novel concept that would be. Really, in closing, if there were a few things I sincerely wish that Local Thunk would do, one of them is, in a future update, releasing Jokers where the multiplier of the Joker increases exponentially if certain conditions are met. Having a Joker that starts at 1.5x, but then goes up to 2.25, then 3.37, then 5.06, etc., would allow players on standard decks to have a true shot at Nan in the late game. Alternately, releasing jokers that multiply your base chips, not merely adding to them. Like, if there were other ways to get 20,000 base chips besides Bull, that would go a long way in balancing the game. And lastly, changing the clear ante from 8 to 10, because Finisher 8 blind is only 50,000, while Finisher 10 is 560,000, meaning you would be required to score 1 million to beat a given run. But hey, I am, like all other players, just gonna have to wait and see what the future updates are gonna be. Anyway, if you watched my Balatro runs, I do greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next videos.